Today's first animal is an omnivore, which means they eat both meat and vegetables, just like me and all of you. They are also incredibly cute. The red panda is not much bigger than your average house cat. They are said to be closely related to the raccoon family. They inhabit areas from western China and the Himalayas. As you can see, the animals are kept well here in the park, but some of the visitors think that one of them has been injured due to his limp. This actually happened when he was just a baby, and is because his mother may have picked him up wrong or even sat on him, but he copes well and he's not in any pain. How did you find the red panda experience?
Oh, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I've been waiting for ages to see them. I have read up about them anyway,
right.
But it was quite informative that they've got the young one in to breed with the male that's there, and they're normally quite solitary animals.
Would you recommend this to anyone else that was interested in animals?
I would.
Yeah?
I would. It's, you know, sometimes I don't really agree on zoos, okay, but this place, it's better than a zoo. Like I say, I think maybe some of the big cats should have a bigger enclosure.
Yeah. That's
just my own opinion, to be honest. But as long as their life's got enrichment, that's fine. But I prefer animals to be in the wild themselves. That's how I see it. But you know, the way they're being looked after here, I think it's amazing. I think it's really good.
The emu is one of Australia's biggest birds, second to the other big bird, the ostrich. It can grow up to a height of 6.5 metres, which is bigger than the average man. The emus like to stay in places such as the forest and desert. An emu's diet is a mix of many things ranging from grains, flowers to insects, so that they eat just like normal birds we would find in the UK. Emus can be quite intimidating for some members of the park, as they're quite big and they can be quite aggressive. But nothing inspires fear in people as much as our next resident of the park. Some people love them, some people hate them. These predators are the terror of bugs, spiders. People think that tarantulas are cold killers when they're actually quite delicate and rarely bite people. However, when it comes to prey, that's a different story. These spiders use stealth as a key factor to lead them to a successful kill and deliver a deadly bite to immobilise their prey. A tarantula's skeleton is not as strong as other spiders. A fall from about 3 to 4 foot could fatally wound them, but that's a much better death than getting caught by our next creature on today's visits. The Harris hawk is one of Paradise Wildlife Park's most deadly birds of prey. It's nicknamed the Wolf of the Sky because of its amazing hunting techniques, and because of this, it's one of the most successful birds of prey. What's the life expectancy of a healthy Harris hawk?
These guys in captivity 15 to 20 years, and it's pretty much identical out in the wild as well because they are very social and they look after each other, so yeah, pretty much the same out in the wild as well.
Okay, how do they keep their beaks that sharp?
It's through chewing on their food and that, but their beaks never stop growing, so they're constantly growing all the time, so yeah, they just always grow, so that's why they stay that sharp.
Right. How do you keep them contained in the park? Like, how do you keep them from escaping?
These guys, she's actually tethered to a bow perch during the day, and then she's got Ava at night time, but we do actually free fly her as well, so it's just having a bond with her and making sure you know what she's like and that.
Yeah.
And making sure she feels happy as well.
How dangerous is she? Because obviously she's a deadly hawk, so...
Yeah, these guys, if you're talking prey-wise, they've got a 60% efficiency rate when they're out hunting.
Right.
So 60% of the time they'll come back with enough food to feed everyone. They're very deadly machines. They're the wolves of the sky, basically.
Yeah.
Human-wise, they're not that bad. She's pretty tame for people she knows. She's pretty good, but all you have to watch is her talons on her. She can do quite a lot of damage with those, and her very sharp beak as well.
It looks like it. The park has a number of birds of prey, but one of its most popular attractions is the big cats, and that's where we're headed next. This is Aaron. He arrived at Paradise in November 2003 from Basel Zoo in Switzerland. But don't be fooled by this snow leopard's beauty. This big cat is one of the deadliest of its kind. These beautiful creatures are found in the coldest mountains of Asia in the Himalayas. How many leopards do you have at the park?
We have 3 leopards. We have 2 snow leopards, as you can see here on your left, and we have an African leopard further down there on my right.
Right. Do you have any leopard families at the park that are related, or?
No, we don't. Although the big male here that you see at the back, he's called Aaron, and he's a 50-kilogram snow leopard, and he's actually had 2 kittens.
Oh.
He had a 4-year-old male he had a male about 4 years ago, and he had a little female about 2 years ago that all went to other zoos as part of the European breeding programme.
Oh, right. So, what do you feed them at the park?
We feed them a range of foods. We feed them horse, ribs, chicken, rabbit, anything to keep them interested and stimulated.
Okay. Are they friendly with the keepers and other people, or?
Pretty friendly at the moment. At the moment, we brought Mizzy in about 9 months ago, so she's still getting used to us. But she will come down if we've got meat with us.
Okay. Last of the leopard family is the African leopard, situated in the savannah of Central Africa. The African leopard is isolated from the other species of leopards we've seen today. Leopard. The African leopard's diet is completely veg-free. It ranges from warthogs to small rodents, and just like a normal household cat, they love to catch fish and birds too. This is one of the wildest of the big cats, living in the jungles and savannas of Zimbabwe. But for possibly the most famous of big cats, we have to go across the park to the African lion enclosure.
Working at Paradise Wildlife Park?
I've been at the park for 3 years, but I've only just been taken on as a member of staff. I was taken on in March. I had to do 2 and a bit years of volunteering as a paid member of staff for sort of 6-7 months. But yeah, really enjoyed it. I would recommend you do the volunteering part first instead of trying to apply for a job. If you've got years of experience behind you, then that's good. Obviously, it's always good.
Is commonly known as the king of the jungle. However, he does not live in the jungle. He lives in the southern part of the Sahara Desert in Africa. He may not be the king of the jungle, but his tactical hunting skills maintain his position at the top of the food chain. What are the lions fed at the park, and how many times do you feed them in a day?
Well, they occasionally get fed by people who've paid to feed them, but actually we tend to feed once every 2 to 3 days.
Are there different types of groups of lions in the park, and do they come together as a pride like they would in the wild and in the jungle?
Well, no, we've got 3 more lions that you've probably seen, the white ones,
yeah.
and they're perfectly normal lions. They just carry the white gene. They're African lions called Izula. Kia and Moto are now mating, and if they have cubs, that's great. You can leave the cubs there for a spell, but they have to go when they're about 2, because what you don't want to have happen is, firstly, you don't want Moto to mate with his daughter, and you don't want the sons to fancy their sisters and their mothers, because that's inbreeding, and that leads to terrible trouble. They can get born then with gross deformities ultimately. So they do have to get in the wild. The prides would separate. The cubs would go about 2. The females stay in the pride if there's enough prey base, but the boys in charge get kicked out in 1 to 3 years, so that they can't mate with their female.
Lion's roar can be heard from about 5 miles away. Is that true?
Absolutely.
And that's it for today's show. Today we've looked at big cats, omnivores and even creepy spiders. Next week Vanessa will be wrapping up the series with our last episode of the show. Thank you and goodbye for now. Coming up on next week's show, we'll discover the meerkats, alpacas and deers, strolling with the giant tortoise, meeting the bats and birds of paradise, and running wild with the zebra